Greetings, ISDS2000 Business Statistics students. This summer, I just thought I'd touch base with you again this week, as I pretty much do every week, I think, and see how you're doing, kind of take your pulse now that you have finished your first test. I've already sent you some email information about that, but one thing I wanted to encourage you to do is to put a note on your calendar, go back on, I believe it's either Friday or Saturday, but let's just say Saturday, and review the grading of your test. Make sure you understand any questions that were missed. The system, by and large, is correct because you've seen these problems before in the homework, and so if there was any misgrading or technical difficulties, it will normally surface in the homework. So I suspect everything is okay, but what's really important is that first, if you identify a mistake, that you contact me and let me take a look at it, and that you make sure you understand any problems that you missed, okay? Now, also, one of your classmates, Rakisha, emailed me and said, hey, didn't you say that you were going to give us all points for the question on Chapter 2 that I'm going to say was graded incorrectly, but as we discussed, the real problem is if you're going back and forth in the homework, the numbers were changing, and that was an issue. I agreed with that, obviously, because I had forgotten to give you those points, but she did email me very respectfully, and I appreciate that. And I have created an additional line item that you'll see in the grade book in pause, and I've given you the bonus points for that, and there's a little bit of an explanation there. You had to have attempted the problem. If you didn't do any of the Chapter 2 homework, then obviously you're not going to get the points for that. So I think we're caught up there, and looking forward, let's go to our schedule. Alrighty, so you've got emails on your Exam 1 grades. All the grades have been posted, probably with the exception of the name and address confirmation. But looking ahead at our schedule here, as I record this video, it's June the 20th, so we are in week 4, and you know this little 10-week semester just goes by very quickly. So what do you need to be doing? Well, you need to be working in chapters 5 and 6, right? Don't waste any time. Hit the ground running. It's very tempting after you complete an exam to sit back and take a deep breath. But this is a 10-week semester. It goes very quickly. We have a lot of material to cover. So you need to finish that exam and then start working on the next assignment. Now, as you can see here, it says complete learning project number 2. I'm going to change tabs here in my browser and go over to pause. Learning project 2 is going to be in your Dropbox. And you see there's word instructions here. What I like to do is actually click the name of the assignment so that you can see this. And you need to read this very carefully, but this learning project is a little bit different than your last one because you are going to watch a series of YouTube videos. So it tells me to go to the pause content pages down to Chapter 4 and then look for something that says YouTube videos. Now you may want to print this sheet, right, so that you have all the instructions for your assignment. So I'm doing what it says there. I'm going to content. I'm going to go down here to Chapter 4. We have finished Chapter 4. I guess I need to move this link. I kind of change things from semester to semester to try to align things a little better. But when I click on this link, YouTube videos, Learning Project 2, you are in Chapter 5 going to be studying percentiles, quartiles, and deciles. You are going to be studying factorials, and if you have forgotten factorials, then you will enjoy this little video. In fact, maybe that was Chapter 4, right? Definitely Chapter 5. You are looking at combinations and permutations, conditional probability, which oftentimes gives students a little bit of a problem there. Tree diagrams, all these concepts that you are going to be studying in particular in Chapter 5. And these videos are designed to help you understand that. Now, sometimes the video will actually display underneath this, but you do have the link that you can copy and paste to watch the video. Okay, after you watch, and you see it's a series of 8 videos, and as you know from YouTube, those videos are typically pretty short and concise. So as I use my back button here and go back to the assignment instructions, what I'm asking you to do is after you watch those 8 videos, you're going to pick out 3 of those videos. I tend to call them the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? In the first video, what I want you to do is find the video that you think was absolutely the best, that helped you the most, that just explained the concept the best, right? And then what I want you to do is to identify 2 things in that video that were helpful, 2 things that you learned. Now, as you write this paragraph, I want you to pay close attention to the instructions because this is typically where students lose points. This is an easy assignment, but I will honestly tell you that where students lose points is I try to think every year of a nice way to say this, but the only thing I can tell you is they slop it out, okay? People don't put their name at the top of the assignment. They don't put a title. I do expect you to behave like professionals, business people, and to write this in a business format, which means you put your name at the top. You put a title to any report that you turn in, whether it's academic or business, right? So you need to do those things, and I remind you of that in here, but name the video. Don't tell me it's video number 3. I do not remember what video number 3 is, and I am not going to go look it up. So you're going to lose points unless you give me the name of that video, okay? Again, tell me 2 things. I will be looking, and I do read each one of these assignments. I'll be looking for those 2 things. I see I have an outdated point in this instruction, so let me just clarify this. I want to know now also, how does this help you solve one of the Connect problems? Tell me about the Connect problem. Tell me how it helped you solve it. I also say, or a pause quiz question. I've eliminated the pause quizzes, and so that's no longer an issue for you all this summer. But the point of this particular bullet is to explain to you that these videos are not a separate thing. It is in support of what you are learning. When you see a video on combinations and permutations, you have a problem on combinations and permutations. So another thing I want you to get out of watching these YouTube videos is that as you continue in your academic career, some of you are going to go on and work on your master's degree, and this is a prerequisite course. Some of you are in your undergraduate work, but this is your first course in statistics. You might be next have quantitative methods and some other courses. Well, YouTube may be an academic tool that supports your learning in the long run. And so I want you to begin to see it as something that is in support of your learning, not to mention that it is actively supporting your learning. Okay. Did this video help you to better understand the explanation of this topic, than your textbook? Now, listen, I do not take off if you say that your textbook was better. I do not take off if you say that the video is better. I want to know which did you find better in this particular case. It varies based on the kind of problem. It varies based on the student. And so now I will take off if you do not answer that question, right? I'm asking you in those paragraphs to address each one of these things. Now, every time students kind of get wrapped up in wanting to tell me a critique of the video. Well, first of all, in this paragraph, I've asked you to name the video that you feel was the most educational. So I am not interested in your critique of the video. These are not professional productions, and they're not supposed to be. They are the equivalent of somebody sitting down with you and working through the problem with you. So, be careful to avoid that. I routinely get papers from students that say the speaker did not introduce themselves. Well, that's all right. Okay, we're going to let that go. Don't tell me about that in your paper. Now, the second video is the one that you feel was the second most educational. If it was the second most educational, then certainly you could have learned one thing from that video. So you're going to tell me about that, and again, answer the questions. Now, because I know you're dying to critique the video, in the very last paragraph, tell me the one that you thought was just awful. I do routinely change out these videos based on So if you tell me this video is not very helpful, then I do take note of that. I do want you to consider this. As I grade these papers, it's always amusing to me that I'll read one student's paper and they will say, video A, with the title, name the video, blah, 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 was the greatest video ever. And the next paper I grade will tell me that that was the worst video ever. So it is a little bit in the eye of the beholder, and it depends on, you may think the factorials video was really bad if factorials are second nature to you. On the other hand, you might think that it was really great if you were struggling with factorials and this helped you to understand them. So, be careful as you blast, but I have had students say the reason I thought this video was really bad is because the lighting was so poor that I could not see what the instructor was doing. So, these are legitimate things, and I appreciate that feedback as you write this third paragraph. Other important details: how to save the document, make sure your spelling and grammar is correct. Again, it's a reminder, this is a professional work. Put your name, your class section, some things like that at the top, and then of course you're going to submit that assignment into the Dropbox, right? Okay, so that was a little bit about Learning Project 2, which is one of the things that you have on the horizon. If I go back to the Dropbox, you also have some additional extra credit work, something for Chapter 5 as well as for Chapter 6. I hope that these Excel assignments are helpful to you. You might also be using your calculator. Look at the instruction manual that comes with your calculator, because you may find that your calculator is capable of doing combinations, permutations, and factorials. So, again, everybody's calculator is a little bit different, so you want to use your manual to look that up. Okay, so extra credit work, learning project work, and as I look at the schedule, again, you're working on Chapter 5 in Connect, and then you just want to keep on going and work on Chapter 6, because at the end of this month, we have another test. Now, my philosophy is I would rather test you more frequently so that you understand how you're doing, right, than have just one test or two tests a semester. In statistics, I find that this is important. As I've taught this course for quite a while now, I do understand how important that feedback is. And so if you feel that you're over-tested, let me just assure you that as we go into discrete probabilities and this kind of stuff, it's important to stop and make sure you are on target at these points, and this is the reason for that. So this is the structure of our course. It gives you more grades, and of course you have one exam drop grade, so there's a lot of benefits to doing this. Okay, so how are we as a class doing on our Connect work in Chapter 5 and 6? Well, I would like to see us a little bit better, okay? First of all, let me start with the results of Exam 1. If you can see that, what the computer tells me is that 17 out of 18 registered students took the exam, and that the class average was a 71.84, or in other words, 72%. For the very first test, I honestly would have liked to have seen that a little bit higher, but I am glad that your homework grades were good, and several of you did participate in the extra credit, so I know that you're doing okay. Here we are in Chapter 5, and for so far the only thing that's been attempted is Chapter 5, Part 1, and 3 students have attempted that. I would like to see that a little bit higher also. What that tells me is that after you took exam number 1, and it was Father's Day weekend and all that, I understand, but that you kind of sat back and rested, and you don't have time to do that, okay? So don't let any more time pass by. The key phrase that I want to keep repeating is, you will do your best if you spend a little bit of time every day. So maybe you're working on the extra credit, and that's okay. Maybe you are working on your learning projects right now, watching videos. This is also okay. Keep Connect in the forefront of your mind also, because it's very important, directly prepares you for the exam. So I am proud of you. You are doing really good. I do see you working, and we'll continue to touch base and through videos and email, and keep up the good work. Keep your